Get 'em.
Welcome, folks. Y'all come on in and make yourself at home. This here, well, this is the Rolling Thunder Podcast, your home for all things Rolling Thunder. This episode is brought to you by Mossy Oak, because everything is better in Bottomland. Kent Cartridge, quality matters, performance counts. Shen Gear, waterfowl gear that is built better. And Benelli USA, dominate the skies.
Alrighty, welcome to this episode of the Rolling Thunder Podcast. Got a very special guest this evening. We got Mr. Zack Birge, all the way from just outside Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Zack, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, we're making it. Spence, you doing all right over there?
Yeah, doing good. Doing good. Not often I get to talk to professional bass fishermen anymore.
I see enough of them around here that think they're professional bass fishermen, but I don't get to talk to the real deal very often. So, Zack, season kind of winding down, shifting gears a little bit. You ready for a break?
Yeah, I'm definitely ready. You know, every year I don't do much fishing from about really September-ish on until the end of January. And, you know, a lot of people think that I probably should do more fishing that time of year because that is my profession. But I look at it as I work really hard during the summer, spring, summer, and fall, to where I can take off, you know, for duck season and be able to enjoy myself and hang out with buddies and go places and do things. And, you know, we've kind of turned that into a business now as well. But I really enjoy this time of year when it starts to cool off and we start to change gears and focus on waterfowl stuff.
Zack, why is it that fishing season for the pros like you is so heavily weighted to the first 6 months of the year or 8 months of the year, I guess?
I guess more or less because we start January-ish, into January, into February. We normally start in like South Texas to Florida, somewhere where it's starting to get warm. Fish are pre-spawn, getting ready to spawn. So fishing's usually really good and getting better. And then as the spring goes on, you know, it's really good fishing everywhere. So there's tournaments popping off everywhere. And you get to the summer months and guys, you know, some guys love the summertime. Some guys hate the summer. I'm one of the guys that really doesn't care much for it. Because I hate being out in the beating sun on me. When if I step outside, it just pours out of me. So I'm by the time like June comes around, I'm ready for it to wind down already. But you know, you get a little bit later on in the fall, fishing starts to get a little tough and starts to wind down towards August, September, most of the time, depending on what tournaments and stuff you fish and in what region of the country you're into. So you can go up north and still have a lot of fun this time of year.
Okay. So it could just very well be because I grew up in the deep South and everybody I've known as a fisherman, like they kind of, like you said, I mean, they start to tap out July, August, you know, time frame from a tournament standpoint.
Yeah. Those are
I'm not a big fan of that. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I just said those are brutal times of the year for the heat and humidity, especially being down south.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, I'm in Tennessee, and so I know you fished all the Tennessee River chain lakes, and, you know, those guys, man, obviously there's a lot of grass, you know, stuff and frogs and, you know, flipping jigs and stuff. But those guys that really like that river fishing, like they get off on days that it's just not a cloud in the sky, an incredibly bright sunshine, hot as blue blazes, and fishing you know, like ledge fishing. And I mean, I can't think of anything on the water that I would I enjoy less.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because there's a lot of similarities to what you just said and how I like to fish, but I grew up fishing on the Arkansas River, and
Yeah.
it's really the polar opposite of that. It's bluebird skies, hot. The hotter it gets, the shallower they get. It seems like,
Okay.
and
Okay.
Tennessee River is kind of the opposite. The hotter it gets, the more still it gets. They get out on ledges. They're 18 to like 25, 30 foot deep, grouped
Right.
up. That doesn't happen very, very often on the Arkansas
Yeah.
River where I grew up. But it was the same kind of mentality. I wanted it to be hot and dead still, and I knew if I could find a stick that could put out a shadow in 6 inches of water,
Yep.
there'd probably
Yeah, there's a fish underneath it. Yeah.
Yeah. And, so your part of the world is like DeGray, right? Or where you're from? Is that right there in between Mayflower and Conway or something?
that would have been a little further south of me.
Okay.
In the 13 years that I lived there, I can tell you, like on two hands, how many times I fished the Gray, Watchtal, Greer's Ferry, any of those lakes. Dad just didn't like fishing them, and I didn't have another ride to go anywhere else besides where he was going. So we were on the Arkansas River 99% of the time.
But it's funny hearing you say that about it being opposite of kind of the Tennessee River stuff, because I remember as a younger, I'm still not willing to admit that I'm old yet, but I remember there were a couple of really big tournaments fished on DeGray, maybe even the Classic one year, seemed like. And Denny Brower did really good flipping a jig. And I always thought that was really romantic bass fishing, like flipping a jig in shallow water and shallow cover, just exactly like you're talking about. Bright sunshine, fish are laid in the shade, very predictable.
Right.
And I never really thought about how opposite that was.
Yeah, it's wild how different regions of the country and different systems function differently. And that's a big task for people that want to get into it for a living, to put all that together and make sense of it all and learn everywhere that they go. Everywhere's a little bit different. And if if you grew up, you spent, just say, like I spent 13 years in Arkansas. If I traveled around and fished everywhere in the country with the mindset of what I knew in Arkansas, I would very seldom do any good, because it's not likely that there's places that fish the exact same. But there are circumstances and situations where things that I learned come into play, and it was a big part of my learning curve at the beginning, like anything else.
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting point. I've never heard a professional bass fisherman make that, but that really is unique when you compare it to, say, Major League Baseball or Major League Football, or the pro sports at those levels. Like, yeah, the wind may blow a little bit different and the air may be a little thinner in Colorado Rockies Stadium, but it's not a whole different game. And you guys have that everywhere. You kind of have whether it's water clarity or temperature or time of year, like it's a good game. It makes guys who've done it successfully for a long time that much more impressive, I guess.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. That's just the thing that, a lot of people don't think about that kind of stuff when they think about a person that's a professional fisherman. They think guys just going out fishing like anywhere else, and they're fishing their backyard pond or whatnot, doing it for a living. It must be nice, but there's a lot more involved with it than just that. And yeah, what you just stated was, a pretty good aspect of it.
I'm sure Chris has some hunting questions. How did you get started? A couple more fishing questions before we move on to the fun stuff. How did you get started pro fishing, and what's that like? What's it like from a business standpoint? Is your pay from sponsorships as well as winnings, or is it just winnings? Like, we don't need your tax return data, but kind of economics of how it works.
Yeah. So I started, obviously I fished since I was little, a little kid. Grew up fishing over there, moved to Oklahoma, learned a lot about this place through high school, and started fishing little team tournaments with my dad and some buddies, some high school friends. And one thing led to another. College fishing came about, started doing that. I still say that's what got me through college.
Where'd you go to college?
Oklahoma State.
Okay.
So I did that. My partner, Blake Fleury, and I were fortunate enough to win a championship in 2012, which at the time we hadn't really thought of anything as far as doing it for a career or anything. We just loved tournament fishing and being competitive. And when we won that championship, a lot of doors opened for us that we didn't really expect. We weren't really going out and looking for it. Just phones started ringing and started having conversations, and little deals started happening. I graduated school after that and started fishing a little bit bigger tournaments around here, regional stuff like Rayovacs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I qualified to fish the FLW Tour that year. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I started working out here on a big wind farm, making really good money. And I asked my boss if there was any way that I could get off enough time from work to pursue those tournaments. And he said, man, you got 2 weeks of vacation. I can give you a third week. But that's really all you can have. And so I did the math on it, and that would leave me just enough time to leave, drive to the tournament, fish the tournament without practicing, and turn around, drive right back, and get back to work without missing more days. And
nice.
I just, when I started thinking about it, it was going to cost $5,000 a tournament. I couldn't justify doing it without being able to put the time into practice. So
yeah.
I was like 22 at the time, I think. And I told him I was going to turn in my 2 weeks notice and just give it a shot. And I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. Didn't have the money to pay for it. And I had one more event left to fish that year, which was the Rayovac Championship at Wheeler Lake in Alabama. And I ended up winning that, and that paid me $50,000. So I used that money to pay my entry fees for the following season, which was my rookie year on the FLW Tour. And long story short, I had a really good rookie season, won Rookie of the Year, had a couple top tens, fished there for 6 years, I think it was, before we went over to the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour. And there's just been nothing to hold me back since then. I've just been fishing my butt off and trying to cash as many checks as I can and work as hard as I can for the people that I work with. And, I don't see an end anywhere soon, but I certainly love it. It's tough times in the fishing industry right now. And hopefully, a lot of that changes pretty soon. But
what makes it tough times? Unpack that a little bit.
The economy's rough. The fishing industry's struggling. There's a lot of things going on that are making it tougher for somebody that's like in the position I am with endemic sponsors. It's tough. I don't have enough time in the day to explain all that to you, but
sure.
Hopefully things will get better pretty soon. And I think it will. We're just in one of those periods where there's a lot of drama.
Economic constriction. I mean, I get that.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of feeling it across the board. So,
no doubt.
You had had a pretty good win this year.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get to next. After that was I won one this year. I've had a bunch of top tens and several second place finishes at a professional level, and I've never been able to clinch a win until this year, and I finally got one. It felt so good. All those years that I was so close and had so many opportunities that just barely slipped away. As soon as I knew that I won, all those it was like a flashback. All those times I got second, and, we're so close. I thought about them. I think it just made it that much sweeter. And it took a lot of pressure off too. Anytime you win $100,000 in a year, it definitely eases everything. So I always say winning fixes everything, and it certainly makes it easier. So yeah, that, like you asked earlier, how, you get paid and stuff like that. And I always look at my upcoming year as, I try to look at the salary part of it, which is contractual, um, deals that we have in place. I look at those amounts. That's basically the salary for the year. And then anything we win in tournaments, I look at as bonuses.
Mhm.
And that kind of gives me a good baseline number that I can go off of. I know what my expenses
Mhm.
are. I know how much I'm going to be out of pocket for things. And then I know what what my guaranteed income is. And then I've got to look at every event that I fish and be like, all right, I have that possibility to make, you know, X amount of money if everything goes right. And then wins or bonuses on top of that. So
Yeah. Now, when you go to an event, Gerald Swindle, Rick Clunn, you sleep in a tent, ramp, camp out, or are you a hotel guy? Where do you normally shack up?
I've done everything from sleep in the back of my truck to sleep in a mansion. And I will tell you, the back of my truck was when I was first starting. I slept in my truck. I can't tell you how many nights. I
Yeah.
left my truck running overnight. I can't tell you how many times. Um, but now I've got a couple of buddies that I run around with at these tournaments, and this most simple thing for us now are Airbnbs or
Yeah.
something that rent house. We can rent, we can get groceries, we can
Yeah.
cook,
So
go
y'all
fish all day,
group up.
practice. Yeah, it's much
Yeah.
easier
I
that
mean,
way.
people, when we're on the road hunting, people don't realize, like number one, there's not always a restaurant around that's open when you get off the water. When you get done, 9, 10 o'clock, and even if there is, it's usually fast food or something crummy. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you. The ability to stay in an Airbnb and just snag some groceries and heat something up late, like that is a game changer for how you feel the next day, how you rest.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it a lot nicer. And you don't have to worry about people, getting in your stuff in some random places that aren't too safe, and takes a lot of worry and stress off of you.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's cool. My last fishing question, and I'll let Chris take it, but um, tell us who are some of your key partners or sponsors, whatever you want to call them, but who are some of the brands that you represent and that have been there for a while with you?
Yeah, so I've got a couple. Well, everybody that I work with right now are good companies to be associated with. But last year, well, I've been running Monster Marine lithium batteries for several years now. Um, they've been really, really good to me. Never had an issue with a battery or any of the components that they offer. And I've got their stuff in my tractors at the farm, my bass boat. I've had them in my farm truck, my diesel pumps down there to pump water a mile down the road.
Yeah.
Um, all kinds of stuff they offer. It's been really good. They're super easy to work with and great people. Um, Mercury, I've been with them for a long time. Took like a couple year hiatus, but we've got a really good relationship still today. Great products. I've got their outboard on my bass boat, my duck boat, and I've got a skiff being built right now that I'm fixing to put one of those new small 150Rs on the back of it and send that little rocket around some flats, have some fun with it. But everybody that I work with, I try to get into a relationship with people for a long term, a long term ideal. I don't like getting into things and then getting back out of them just really quick. It doesn't look good for either party. Um, so I try to do things where we get into a relationship, a business agreement, basically, and we're like minded. We want to work together. Want to build both brands, both yours and ours, and continue to grow with each other for years to come. That's what I try to do. So I've probably been a little reserved on doing deals and signing deals and stuff, because a lot of them just haven't fit what we really like to do and how we like to run our business. But the ones that we worked with for many years, and I feel like that's good for both companies. Both the company I work with and ourselves. So just part of it, and that's kind of how we like to run things.
Very cool.
All right, I know we're gonna talk duck hunting at some point, I promise. But fishing question: where do you stand on the live scope debate in tournament fishing?
Oh, that's funny. I really don't care. I'm indifferent on it. Ever since the debacle came up about we got to ban this and ban that, or we're all in, we can use everything. I really don't care. We can use it. We can take them off, throw them in the garbage. I don't care. If we can't use them, we can't use them. I feel like I fished my way to where I am today without using it, minus the past couple of years. But if we can use it, you got to have it on your boat to compete. So I'm going to have it on there, and I'm going to use it to the best of my ability, and still try to win with it. It's no different than any other industry. Things are going to evolve. Products are going to get more efficient, better, and you just have to stay on top of it and continue to grow with times and use what you can use. And if they limit you on it, then so be it. They limit you, and you do with what you can and what they'll allow you to use. So I'm indifferent on it. If a league wants to ban it, I'm for it. If they don't want to ban it, I'm for it. I'm just tell me where to show up and fish, and I'm going to be there.
I like that attitude. That's I mean, I hear folks talk the same way, like mojos and duck hunting. Like, they're not a big fan of them, but if they're legal and I'm allowed to use them, I'm gonna.
Yep.
So, Spence, you got any more fishing questions before we make the big duck hunting jump?
Oh, I could sit and talk about fishing all day.
There's so much to unpack, and I'm sure Zach probably gets tired of talking it sometimes.
It's no longer a part of my life. I was never very good at it, but I'm a very competitive person, and I enjoyed little club tournaments and fruit jar tournaments and all that kind of stuff. I just was never very good at it, but there's still a part of young man Spence that is envious of that career path. I always thought it'd be cool as heck to hook up to a bass boat and go fish uncharted waters. So kudos to you. Congratulations for the hustle. I mean, I can't even imagine how much time you spent, honing your craft, and you got to be lucky too, but it's funny how good luck and good fortune follows those who hustle really hard. So I'm
That's
good
right.
for you.
That's right. I appreciate it.
Talk to us about duck hunting. So I don't know much about your duck hunting stuff. I'll make that transition for you, Chris.
There you go.
You've been in Oklahoma since you were 13, and you've obviously got a farm and you're pumping some water. So you're probably licking your chops like I am right now. I mean, you're looking for new ducks.
Yeah. I look forward to it every year. It never gets old. I remember, back when we lived in Arkansas, the sleepless nights before duck season opened, just laying there, just waiting to hear Dad get up and get moving around so I could know it was time to get rolling. And it doesn't change. It's the same today. The night before duck season, we usually have a pretty good sized party, and we're ready to go. And nobody gets much sleep that night. But we moved here in 2004, I believe it was. And man, not many people duck hunted. It was very weird. Handful of guys. I remember coming to school. I remember walking into school. It's like 7th grade. And everybody was looking at me like the new kid, So I had to go around. I had to have these awkward conversations with people that were going to be, end up being my friends down the road, but I didn't really know. They were giving me these weird looks and stuff. And everybody kept asking me, man, do you deer hunt? Do you deer hunt? Do you deer hunt? I was like, I don't deer hunt. I don't care to shoot a deer. Like I don't, that doesn't interest me at all. All I care about is chasing ducks. And they're like, duck hunting? What is that? Nobody even thought about it around here. And then years went by. I mean, a long time. We were just burning them down, and there was nobody around here that hunted very often. It didn't seem like. And then the times when Duck Dynasty really got going, next thing you know, everybody and their brother was out here duck hunting. Deer hunters turned into duck hunters, and this and that, and it got tougher and tougher and tougher as years went on. Then outfitters showed up over here, guys trying to lease up everything, and then you've got the small guys claiming they're running a guide service, and they hop from this farm pond to that farm pond, and you know do this and that, just muddying the water for everybody. And um, I've just I've always I have a really really hard time watching and seeing guys that don't do things the way they should, and in the way that I grew up doing it, like not so much the old school way, but just the right way to go about waterfowl hunting. I don't shoot at ducks unless I know I can kill them. I don't shoot at swing birds. I don't even call it swing birds. If they look like they're interested in our spread, I'll call to them and see how they react. If they're not interested, I don't mess with them anymore. Um,
You probably also don't ride wave runners and stuff like that while people are trying to ledge fish.
Absolutely not. Exactly. The same thing.
Common respect for other humans goes a long way, doesn't
It
it?
definitely does. So, years went by, and long story short, we got tired of the rat race, and we bought 100 acres. And when we bought our farm, it was a 100-acre place. It was all flooded. All of the 100 acres, there was about 5 that didn't flood, and it most of the time held water to where, but it was just a natural low lying area. It held water. A lot of birds used it just out of history and years of coming to the same area. And the first year we had it, we actually figured out that we were going to have to pump water in it because we had a bad drought. So we learned our lesson on that. We learned how to pump water and how to move things, and do a lot of sweat equity to make it the way it needs to be to run hunts on it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the neighboring 130 acres, there's about 60 acres of water on it that nobody seemed to mess with until we bought our side and started hunting it. And of course, social media, we're posting pictures of our clients and birds that we're shooting and all the good times we're having out there. Next thing you know, the guy that owns the property next to us, he starts day leasing it to everybody and their brother that wants to come out there, which just so happens to be, the small town boys guide service that brings 15 guys, and they sky busted everything that comes within eyesight of them. So that's making it that much tougher on us. And 2 years of doing that and seeing, birds get winged down, them not chasing them, not even going after them, getting stuck in the mud at shooting light in the morning, and sitting out there trying to get their trucks unstuck and just doing dumb stuff. We had enough. We're like, look, let's figure out a way to buy this place and completely block it off so we can turn it into the property that we know it has a potential to be. And fortunately, we were lucky enough. It came up for sale. We sat on it for a long time, and it got to a price point where we could afford it and we could justify spending the money. And we got it bought this year. And when they gave us the green light to get on it and start doing work to it, we got on it. We've been sinking pits in the ground, planting stuff, building levees, just doing all kinds of work to it every day that we can to make it into what it has a potential to be. And I was sitting out there day before yesterday. I was digging a levee, and I was just thinking to myself when I was doing, I was like, I'll be out here all day today, sitting in this machine, stacking up dirt that I'm going to have to turn around and come back, smooth out and spread and, turn it into a levee. And I can't think of anything else or anywhere I'd rather be right now than right here doing that, because I know it's something that's going to be special to us and all the good times that we're going to have with it. I get a lot of joy out of doing that stuff. And, I'm just happy to be able to do that and have that place that my friends and I can go to and utilize and, basically let it pay for itself.
Yeah.
Now, did you?
Yeah, that is. Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, did you grow up hunting, or were you a public land guy? Like growing up, was your dad chasing them on public, or have you always kind of had access to kind of your own space?
We were public guys. 99% of the time, we had one farm in Arkansas that it was a fish farm that we could hunt, and we hunted it. We hunted it quite a bit, but it was about an hour from the house. And, back then that was a pretty good haul. So we were running around all up down the river, Lake Dardanelle, the WMAs around there that they flood that were fairly close by. We'd hunt all that stuff. And when we moved to Oklahoma, there's a lot of, there's a lot more, there's a good amount of lakes and stuff that you can hunt around that have really good numbers of birds. And, it was all public land stuff. Nobody just messed with it. So it was super easy to kill. I mean, you could shoot as many ducks as you wanted to shoot out here. And obviously that's changed a lot now, but that's what we've always done, until it really turned into a cluster out here with, outfitters leasing up everything and competing over all this and that. And I was just, look, let's just buy a place. Let's turn it into something special, run hunts on it for a few years, let it pay for itself. Then we'll buy another chunk and turn it into another good place. And 20 years down the road, hopefully we got 5 or 6 places that we own that are special and that we could, our kids will be able to hunt one year, or, at some point.
Talk to me about what you're doing. I love hearing you talk about how much you love the management side of it and just building something that creates habitat. Like I share that with you. And I think it's so cool to hear. When I was, in the early years of coming up hunting, nobody talked like that. Nobody. And it's so cool to me how in my lifetime, people, I mean, you're 33, I'm in my 40s. Like we're young and we're building habitat that changes the future, both for the ducks and for our kids and our friends' kids and all that. I think that's so cool. Describe to me kind of what your hunting place look like. Like you said, your 100 acres is mostly flooded most of the time. So is it a marsh, or do you have places you can raise a crop? Kind of give us an overview of what your place is like.
So when the backstory on it was, it's always been considered a swamp. That's what the town people call it. It's what the folks around town always, basically, that's the nickname they gave it, was the swamp. And all it is it's a county road that runs across it. And to the west, there's now about 150 acres that holds water. And the county road is what blocked it up. Years ago, though, a long time ago, it was old railroad that went across there. And that's what caused the water to back up. And I'm talking like back in the 20s and 30s, a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, the guy that we bought it from used to tell us stories about the people that, were telling him stories of guys riding trains, like 10, 15 people riding trains up through there to get off and hunt a couple of days in that area. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, that doesn't even make sense, but it's really cool to hear that stuff.
So cool.
And it's interesting to me because once we bought it, I really like to know more about the history of the place and all the dynamic of how it got started and that stuff. And so when we first got it, our 100 that we had, basically 95 acres or so of it was wetland, basically just cattail reeds and there all the water, a lot of it had hydrilla and good grass in it. And the ducks really liked that. But at the same time, it made it really hard it was almost overwhelmed with reeds. And they weren't it wasn't a solid block of them, but it would be like 10 acres here, 10 acres there, 10 acres here of them. And it made it challenging. And we were fortunate, and I say fortunate, to have a drought. A drought seems like it would be tough on us, but we were fortunate to have a drought to where we could get in and take back about 10 acres of the 95 or so that was flooded. We built a big levee around 10 acres, and we got in there with tractors and did all the work we could, got it looking really good, got it planted with millet the first year just because it was easy, and it was incredible. It did really well. We put water on it like a week before the season opened, and it was from the amount of teal opening, the first 2 or 3 weeks to the very end of January when we were shooting mallards in it. It was cool to see that happen in a 10-acre little chunk of the 100 that we bought.
But you built that levee around it to keep the water out?
We built it to where we could pump the water out of it. We had a drought.
Right, but what I'm saying is the purpose of your levee was so you could reclaim that ground and actually get in there.
Yes,
do something with it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So we built that levee, and we had a drought, so the water was low. That's how we got in there initially, and we took a big excavator. We basically used it. We got up on top of the reeds and used the reeds to help keep us from breaking the surface and getting down, which, you would think the bigger the excavator, the more it would sink and stuff. But it's actually, when you got a huge unit and a big set of wide tracks, your ground pressure is not that bad. And when you can set it on a mat of reeds, it really doesn't sink much at all. And we were able to dig a big levee, pump the water out, get it dried, get the ground turned good, and basically, take back little by little. And last year was a little harder. We had a record amount of rainfall before June. And then from like June on, we had a record drought from then until basically duck season started. So we went from one extreme to the other. We had so much water that we couldn't get in to do anything, minus our 10 acres. And it made it really challenging. Every time we'd get stuff about dried out enough to do something, we'd get more rain, and then it would flood us out, and then we'd have to pump it out, wait for it to dry, we'd get back in. So we planted last year. We had a late plant. We planted corn and milo and some millet, and we had about 50% of our crop came up, and we were out there with sprinklers running off a PTO pump on a tractor and all kinds of stuff, trying to water and just make things work. And we had a really, really good year for the amount of food that we had and the lack of cold weather we had to push birds down. It was actually really good. So that makes me look really forward to the upcoming season because we've had a really bad drought this year. But we've also built, now we've got 1, 2, 3, we've got 4 impoundments completely blocked off that we can do what we want with now versus the 10 acres. So there's roughly 60 acres of the 100 that we can manage, manipulate water, plant, and do all that. We have about 20 acres of it planted, pretty much all milo, and about 10 acres or about 5 acres of millet that we got planted late on the new side that we got. So it looks really good. Really excited to get going with it. And, it's just something that it doesn't happen overnight. We can't make the water disappear and make the ground dry enough to where we can work on it and get things changed drastically. So I was looking at it as, a 5-year project as far as getting a lot of those cattails and reeds, reclaimed and getting things to where we can manipulate water and move water and get stuff planted the way we'd like to, or at least we have a vision to. And once we get that all done, I think it'll just make it that much better.
Man, that's so cool on so many levels. But the one I think is so encouraging to me is I love to hear stories of people who are, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just regular folk, not cashing some fat trust fund check, figuring out how to make it work. And, there's like, you probably never have enough daylight hours. You probably never have enough money. You probably never have enough bites on the fishing tour. But I mean, you don't quit. You keep trying. And I've tried to live my life the same way. As I just want you to know that's so encouraging to hear other people thinking that way. And I hope that inspires people to try something, to try buying a place, go talk to the bank, go find somebody that can help you split the payment. Just figuring out how to make it work. And that's kind of what, and that what's more American than that,
that's
right?
It. Yeah, that's exactly right. I fish so hard all year, and I work so hard with sponsors and stuff like that to be able to take off basically 3 months of the year. But we've turned those 3 months into a business now where, we have to put a lot of. I was down there from basically daylight till dark, more days than I can count. Down there today, we pushed this back just a little bit because I was down there today. I was trying to get home in time. Just there's not enough daylight in a day. There's not enough time to get what you need to get done accomplished. And, when it comes back around and all the hard work and effort you put into it, opening day, you show up, you walk up, you get in your blind, and there's ducks just pouring all around you. It's worth every bit of sweat equity you put into it, all the time and effort, all the conflict and chewings that you've had to give throughout the year.
Conflict is right.
It makes it all worth it when that happens. And I can't afford a multi-million-dollar place, but I can afford 100 acres here and there, and we'll put it together and we'll make something special out of it at some point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that's such a great story, and I hope that people listening, take that. It's here in just a couple of weeks, everybody's going to start burning up all the public land. They're going to be griping about, hunting's not the same as it was, blah, blah, blah. It's not the same as it was when we were kids. And you got two choices. You can sit and pout and bitch about it, or you can figure out how to control your own destiny, and go find a better opportunity. And it's easy to sit back for folks and think, oh, that's just rich folks doing what rich folks do and all that. But I mean, I can hear it in your voice. You're not a rich guy. You're a blue collar guy, just like the rest of us. And if you want it bad enough and you hustle hard enough, you can overcome a lot of lack of resources with hustle and and dreaming and not being afraid
That's
to mess up.
Exactly right. We've messed up a good bit of times, but we hustle from daylight till dark and get done what we need to get done. And when it comes time for duck season to be here, we're ready for it, and we always have a good time.
That's awesome. So you said we a couple times. Are y'all running a small group of hunters operation, or do you have a group of members? What's your group?
We have a group of owners. There's 9 owners in the company itself that bought the property. Myself, my dad, my business partner, that we own a dirt work business here in Oklahoma City that it's kind of beneficial to us because we get to use our equipment for our normal what are jobs.
Yeah, that
But we
helps.
also have
Yeah.
we have the access to the equipment without having to go rent it or pay those rental fees. But we still have to make the monthly note on them. So the pieces
Sure.
of equipment have to be in operation, have to be working in order to pay for themselves. But the rare occasion that they're sitting at the shop and I'm in town and I don't have something to do, it's going to be down at the farm with me. We're going to be moving some dirt or doing something useful with them. Um, so yeah, it's basically a small group of guys that I've like any of us we associate with, we grew up hunting around or met throughout a hunt or somewhere in the country that we might have been on a hunt or something, and we share the same mindsets on what we want to do with a place and how we like to hunt. We always had a good time no matter where we're at in the country hunting. And it's kind of one of those things where I knew the place was there. I did not know it was for sale, but I knew the person that owned it originally. And we were just having a conversation about it one day, and I brought it up. So, hey, maybe we should just send old boy a text and see if he'd be willing to sell his property. And that's exactly what we did. I remember I was buying Christmas presents uh, for my wife and kids, and I was with buddies after a hunt. We stopped by a country store to get some things, and we were having that conversation as we were walking out. And I sent him a text, hey man, I said, you be willing to sell that 100 acres that you got down there in town? And he said, you know what? I probably would. Let me talk to my brother about it. So I said, okay, cool. Shoot me a number and we'll go from there. And he did. And so I discussed it with, the guys, and we were like, shoot, man, we can split this up amongst us and afford that, no problem. And we'll have a 100-acre place that we already know is going to have birds. We know how good it is year after year, and nobody hunts it because, just it's been privately owned. Very seldom do they waterfowl hunt, and they don't really let anybody hunt. So if they'll sell it to us, we can buy it for that. We're golden. So we got that done, and it's just been growing from there. So um, we brought in another co-owner this year to help us with that other 131 acres that we purchased, and it's the same kind of deal, like-minded individual. Um, he owns several businesses himself. He's very successful at what he does, but at the same time, he's a hardworking guy that is not afraid to show up at daylight, work till dark, get up and do it again the next day, and put in the time and effort it takes to build something special. And that's what we all want to do, and that's what we're slowly turning this place into.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, are you starting to see maybe a shift in the landscape out there? I know a lot of folks in the Midwest talk about these little smaller guide services or, guides leasing up everything. But are you starting to see more guys, lock down a piece of land and start to manage it for themselves? Or are you still kind of in the minority out there?
No, there's only a very, very small amount of people that actually manage property out here for waterfowl. Most guys are leasing up chunks of property that have watersheds or farm ponds on them. They're calling themselves guides, and they're just sitting on a pond and shooting, 2-3 limits of ducks every day or every other day or something. And to me, that's just easy. Anybody can do that out here. You don't have to pay a guide to do that. You just need to find somebody that let you have access to their farm pond, and you can kill a few limits of ducks every day if you want to on it. We've got good numbers most of the time. Problem is there's people that are coming in and just locking up everything and then charging everybody and their brother to do it. There's the only person that I know of relatively close to me, and there's probably a few others that are outside of the area that I'm in. And I'm just outside of Oklahoma City, so I'm sure there's people out towards Kansas and out west that have places that they're doing that I'm not aware of, but Brad Albeck he's the only one that I know of that actually plants plots and floods places in addition to all the birds that he has around the reservoir he hunts, to help hold birds and help manipulate birds coming into places where his clients can have really good hunts time after time again. So, I mean, there's not a lot of it. It's not like Arkansas where there's, tons of places that are clubs and you got a bunch of members and multi-million-dollar places. We don't really have too many of those here. Mainly because it's not the same landscape and ability to do that without just an absolute ton of effort and work and time for the place to build itself into something like that.
What is I'm gonna have to jump off here pretty soon. But give me your 5, 10, 15-year plan for Zack's life?
5, 10, 15 years. Obviously, first thing that pops in my head is I need to win more tournaments because I need to make more money so I can duck hunt more. No, but in all reality, I need to win as much as I can. It makes life that much easier. That's the 5-year thing. 10 years down the road, I'm going to win. Hopefully I'm winning some more. I need to build some more waterfowl places for our family and kids and our, our co-owners, children to hunt. 20 years, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I hope I'm 33, so that put me at 53. I don't hope to retire about 20 years down the road. I love fishing tournaments. I'm super competitive. And I'll fish tournaments till I can't get around in the boat anymore, honestly. But, if I can be successful enough at it to where I don't have to fish tournaments that long and I can focus on building properties and hunting more and spending time with our kids, that's what I intend on doing if it's possible.
That's awesome. What is your family structure? Are you married, children?
I'm married. And then we've got 2 kids, Emma and Reed. 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. 7-year-old daughter, 3-year-old boy.
Oh, that's cool.
And we've basically been dating since sophomore in high school. So I got to watch what I say or she'll mess me up.
Well, here's hoping that 20 years from now, Reed and Emma are dragging you hunting to places that you're building now. So
I hope so. Hope so. I feel like my dad's he's almost 70 now, and it's obviously harder for him to get around than it used to be when he would throw me over his shoulder and carry me in places. So, I'm not going to pick him up and throw him over my shoulder, but if I can put him in a buggy and take him to a blind and get him in there and get him set up, I hope he's willing to go as much as I can get him there and take him.
Okay. Well, hey, we're going to be next summer. You probably are the waterfowl annual convention expo that they do is going to be in Oklahoma City, and we'll have a big booth there. We'd love to meet you if our paths don't, between now and then. Just as a side note, you may be fishing that time of year. I don't know. I think it's the end of July. But if you get by the convention,
absolutely. If I'm here, if I'm not at a tournament somewhere, I promise I'll be there.
Good. Well, Chris, y'all chat all you want to, but I need to tuck a few kids in bed. I leave Thursday morning for a good solid 10 days in Canada, and I need to put everybody to bed one more time.
Absolutely. Do it while you can.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Chris, for joining us. Y'all, I'm sorry. Be safe out there on the water. Hope you win every tournament.
I appreciate it. It's nice talking to you.
All right, see you, Spence. Well, now that you've kind of got your place established, Zach, I know you used to travel and hunt some other places, how much time of the season we spend on your dirt, or do you have plans to go see some new ground?
We really only block out about a week that we allow ourselves to get away now, because once we bought our place, we run hunts to fund a lot of it, a lot of the expenses that we incur over the year.
Sure.
And just the property note itself too. So we run hunts to offset those costs, and in return, that means we're here a lot. We hunt 3 days out of the week, and usually we lease 640 acres too, and we have access to quite a bit more ground down the road. So we kind of cycle between our property, our lease property, and then the property we have access to. And, we bounce around those, but we have to be here, 3 days out of the week for sure. And in the meantime, we're doing work here and there and doing a lot of scouting and stuff. So it doesn't really let us travel like we used to travel more and go places, but we usually block out a week and all the guys get together and we travel somewhere and hunt for 7 or 8 days, and then that's kind of our mid-season hiatus, and we get back to work when we get home.
Where are y'all planning to go this year? Y'all got somewhere locked down?
Not exactly sure yet. We've been to the West Coast. We've been up to Washington, shot sea ducks. We've been to Idaho, Montana, North Dakota. Shoot, all over. Wyoming, New Mexico. We've traveled to a lot of places the past few years and shot a lot of ducks, and I can't really say that any of them are more special than the other, but they've all been really good, and we've got to see a lot of cool stuff that we've never seen before. And we got about a week blocked out in December again this year that we're going somewhere, and when it gets a little closer, we'll throw a dart, and that's where we'll go.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I was gonna ask if there was any place that you liked going more than others, but you kind of answered that. They're all special and unique in their own way. Every time you go to one of those new spaces or new ways of hunting, it's always different, but it's always just as good.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. It's kind of goes back to what I was talking to earlier about fishing in different regions, and everything's a little bit different. You go to different regions of the country and the birds act a little different. Their timings on things are a little different. And, when we went to Washington, we got to shoot sea ducks on the coast, and that was cool because we could shoot sea ducks, but we were also in an area where we could shoot our normal, like we could shoot mallards and pintail and widgeon all mixed in. So that was really cool to be able to do that and see all of those different species of ducks come together in an area and be able to chase all of them. If I were to pick something that I'd say was probably the most memorable and probably stuck out the most, it would be that Washington, that Western Washington sea duck hunt, basically, we went on.
Yeah, that's definitely on the bucket list. I know everybody talks about going to, Alaska and chasing the kings out there, but everybody who goes to Washington or just out that way just talks about how incredible it is. So who knows? Maybe I'll get to see it one day. Make the journey.
Yeah, westward. For sure. You'll enjoy it, no doubt.
So back to your piece of dirt. Do y'all have a cool name for your spot? Do y'all refer to it in any way?
Not really. Our company name is Fowl Militia Farms. But I mean, we just kind of refer to it like the locals did for years and call it the swamp. The swamp. Yeah. That's about what it is.
Now, for anybody that's looking for a hunt, maybe, how can they find you? Is it through Fowl Militia, or do you got a
they can message either page. We've got Instagram, Facebook, all the social media stuff, and 90% of the time it's me that is responding on there. So Send a message if you're interested. Send a message if you have any questions, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. If I don't, one of our guys will, and we can go from there. I will tell you, it's pretty tough to book because and I'm super thankful for this. Our clients that came the first year, we sort of didn't just book anybody that asked us about it. We kind of booked people that we somewhat knew or were familiar with,
Sure.
because we just didn't really want to, jump into the, whole thing of hunting with people we don't completely know. We don't know how they're going to act. We don't want the liability as far as not being familiar with a few people and things like that. And thankfully, we were able to rebook these guys, and now we're going on year 4, and they've booked up multiple dates this year. They booked up more last year. I've booked more this year. So when we opened the books to put them down on paper, it was booked in no time. Everybody claimed their dates. We'd make another phone call, they'd claim their dates, and make another phone call, and they'd claim their dates, and then the season was set. I think we had like 2 weekends where somebody had to back out for some, family thing they realized that they had agreed to go to or something, and so we rebooked those. But because we only hunt like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we rest all these places the rest of the week. So, where there's 3 days are pretty good for us. That slims down on the amount of people we can take throughout the season.
Sure.
But at the same time, it makes it really special for those groups that do get to come, because it's usually a really good hunt.
Yeah. Well, there's something cool when they move from just being a client or customer to to being a long time friend. Changes the dynamic in a good way.
It does, and that's the whole thing with waterfowl hunts, camaraderie, and being able to stand around and BS with friends and have a good time. And we cook breakfast in the blinds and hang out. We'll shoot the shit for a little while, and we'll kill our ducks, and then we go about the rest of our day. Usually go back, watch a game or something, and do it again the next day. And everybody usually leaves really happy, and they're ready to book for the next season.
It's a good problem to have. When does y'all season open up? When do y'all get rolling?
It's usually the second week of November. I can't drop the date right off my head right now. It's usually the second week, second weekend, Saturday in November usually is when it opens, unless they've changed. I know we used to have 2 zones, then they went to the whole or a couple of different areas in the state for a season. Now it's pretty much all the same, but it's usually the second week. We'll have like a 5-day split, usually Monday through Friday, and then it runs till pretty much the end of January. We got like a 75-day season. It's pretty good season.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish we had an extra 15 days we could put on either end of ours. Alabama, it's always the Friday after Thanksgiving. So Friday, Saturday, opens up for a couple days, closes, and then opens back up the following week. But we're gonna get a jump start this year. We got a couple boys. We're headed north on Friday. We're gonna plans to go to North Dakota, but we may end up hopping the border, and we'll just kind of see. We have a loose plan, but this is kind of a, like you said, throw a dart at the board and see what sticks. So we're just gonna haul the gear and see where we end up.
That's always fun. We're gonna leave Friday and go to Nebraska. We're gonna go up there for their opener and hunt a couple of days.
Oh, nice.
And come back, kind of get that itchy trigger finger out of our system.
Yep. Yeah. Are y'all freelancing out there?
No, we go up there and hunt the Missouri River. I've been doing it past 4 years. I go up there, their opening weekend, hunt, come back. I try to go in amongst our groups that we have just periodically. So I'll go 2 or 3 times a year. It's only 8 hours from me, so I can shoot up there, be there by mid-afternoon, ride around, see where the birds are, see where I need to hunt, and then I'll hunt in the morning. hopefully do well, and then I'll ride around that afternoon, scout some more, and then hunt the next morning, then drive home. So quick 2 day hunt, and then back to the house.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're so used to burning up the roads that feels like nothing.
8 hours is a chip shot for me.
Uh-huh.
I'm used to 16, 18, 20-hour drives.
Have you found it being beneficial, kind of centrally located there in Oklahoma, as far as getting all your tournaments during their working season, or is there somewhere else that would be a little bit more, I don't know, not necessarily beneficial, but make life easier?
It would be a lot more easy for me if I were in that Tennessee, North Alabama region, somewhere around in there, because that would centrally locate me better for going up north, going down to Florida, Texas, and whatnot. From here, if I go to Florida or go to New York or something, it's a 24, 26-hour drive. Go to the East Coast, it's 18-hour drive. But if I go to like Texas or Arkansas, or we have a tournament here, that's a chip shot. It's a couple hours, 5, 6 hours either way. So I either have a really short drive to a couple or a really, really long to a few, versus if I were in like that East Mississippi, Northern Alabama, Central, Eastern Tennessee area, things would be more like an average of 10-hour drive, 8 to 10-hour drive, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there obviously you've got a win to defend this upcoming spring. Any tournaments you're kind of specifically gunning for this next year? Anything you're chasing?
Man, nothing really sticks out to me as far as one that I think, hey, I think I can win that one. I didn't think I could win the one that was here at Lake Eufaula this past year. It's not what I expected to win. Being that I'm, quote, a local, I don't fish there much. I hadn't fished there in years. And it's just not one that I expected to win. It just worked out for me that week. So I always go into the year, there's obviously places I prefer to go than others, but I have to keep a super open mind of what's going on, what to expect, what not to expect, and just fish really by the seat of my pants and what feels right, and make choices on the fly that I think are going to benefit me the best.
So if you could only fish one tournament this next year, one specific place, body of water, which one are you going for? What's your favorite?
Oh man, it's a great question. I don't even know. If I could say if I could say one place that I would really like to go back to soon and fish, like I would prefer to go fish a tournament at, it would be up around La Crosse on the Mississippi River. I love it up there. I love fishing that system, that northern or upper Mississippi region. It's so good. There's so many fish. And I, for some reason, I guess because growing up on the Arkansas River, I relate to it pretty well. I usually do well. I just enjoy my week up there when we go a lot.
Does it fish just kind of similar to like what you grew up doing? Like does it just suit that more than maybe some other places?
Almost definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of similarities there.
Heck yeah. I've never been a serious fisherman per se. I've dabbled here and there, but definitely no way consider myself any good at it. But it's a nice relaxation option every now and then. Are your kids getting on board? Do they like to hunt and fish with you?
They do. My daughter, she goes with us a little bit during early teal season. She likes to hang out, watch. She shoots bullfrogs and stuff with a BB gun, and decoys.
Yeah.
And my boy, who's 3 now, I can't keep him. I cannot bring him inside the house. He wants to go outside nonstop. Wants to go outside. Daddy, I want to go outside. Mommy, I want to go outside. And he'll go out there and he'll play in the mud with his trucks, and he wants to go down to the pond and fish. Wants his fishing pole. He takes that thing with him everywhere he can go. So I'm really excited for, I don't want things to speed up, but I'm really excited for the things that we have in store to come, and the good memories that we'll get to make.
Yeah, I'm behind you a little bit. So I've got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. My little girl's 4, my little boy's 3, and so they're both, they always ask to go. And I took Nash, a little boy. I took him. He went early goose hunting with us, and I've told him I'm taking him hunting. But we've gone and scouted some, ride the boat. But you don't want to skip these seasons, but it's always like, man, get a little bit bigger. Like we're about to get to something really cool. We just got to enjoy it while we can.
That's right.
Oh, we're smidge over that hour mark. I want to be real respectful of your time. Yeah, I really appreciate you carving out some time and sitting and talking with us. And man, if you're out there listening and you don't follow Zack, go hit him up on Instagram, Facebook, Zack Birge Fishing. Look up Fowl Militia. If you find Zack Birge Fishing, go to his reels, then you can find Fowl Militia. It's real easy to find. And man, best of luck this waterfowl season. Hope y'all kill them every day y'all go, and definitely good luck this upcoming tournament season. It's always cool to watch, and your career's doing some really cool things.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. Apologize for bumping it back a little bit. I expected to be back earlier today.
Oh, there's no problem at all. We totally understand. There's only so many hours in the day to get stuff done.
That's right.
Well, like Spence said, hopefully we get to shake hands next year at the Delta Expo out that way, or maybe have an opportunity to cross paths before then. But looking forward to it either way.
Yeah, for sure. If it works out, I'd love to come hang out with you guys and catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make it happen. Well, to all our listeners out there, if you made it all the way to the end of this one, as always, we're so grateful, and we will catch you on the next one.